At number 20, we have Splash Yard. The hero Barbarian is featured in this deck, and it's extremely useful. It can absolutely wreck bait decks, which are quite popular in the meta. Use your Tombstone, Ice Wizard, and Baby Dragon to defend your enemy's push. Space out your troops well to avoid giving any spell value to your opponent. Then, with your surviving troops, counter push with a Graveyard. Always make sure to defend first. The defensive potential of this deck is perhaps the best out of any deck in Clash Royale, and for that reason, this deck gets a perfect score on defense. At number 19, we've got Mortar Skeleton Barrel Bait, and somehow this deck found a way to become even more annoying. The addition of the Hero Barbarian Barrel has made it an absolute headache to deal with. Let's start with the defense. Hero Knight, Mortar, and Dart Goblin together form one of the most frustrating defensive cores in the game. That trio can shut down almost any push if you place them properly. Mortar distracts, Hero Knight tanks and redirects, and Dart Goblin chips everything down from range. It's extremely hard to break through cleanly. On offense, this deck follows classic bait rules. Use Dart Goblin and minions to force out small spells. The moment Log, Arrows, or Snowball are out of cycle, that's your green light! Drop your Revolved Skeleton Barrel and pressure hard. If they don't have the right counter ready, they're instantly forced into a negative elixir trade, and if they ignore it, the tower basically disappears. You can also use the Mortar offensively and use your Hero Barbarian Barrel to protect it from swarms. This deck gets a very good score on defense and is also extremely free-to-play friendly. At number 18, we have Minor Balloon Cycle, and I genuinely think this deck is underrated right now. It has answers to almost everything in the meta, yet barely anyone's running it. That's crazy to me. The hero Ice Golem pairs insanely well with Balloon. When you activate his ability, it becomes so hard for your opponent to properly defend. The slowdown and tankiness almost guarantee at least one balloon hit, and one hit is all you need. A single connection from the balloon can swing the entire game. That should always be your objective. Secure that one devastating drop. Minor plays a huge role here. Use him to snipe backline troops like Musketeer, Archers, or any ranged unit trying to shut down your balloon. He can also tank for the balloon in clutch situations, forcing awkward defenses. The synergy in this deck is genuinely elite. Every card supports the win condition perfectly, which is why it scores highly across offense, defense, and consistency. At number 17, we have Giant Skeleton Royal Hogs. The most important thing with this deck is to get sneaky magic archer damage from the bridge. Because this deck doesn't have a big spell, it can be a bit hard for you to break through on offense. That's why you always need to capitalize on any opportunity you get to use your magic archer on the bridge. And make sure that you protect him for as long as you can. Use the Royal Ghost and Dark Prince to bait out counters to the piggies. The Giant Skeleton plus Minions combo is enough for defense. Overall, this deck gets a high score on defense, and it's also free to play. At number 16, we have Elixir Golem Beatdown. This is literally the most obnoxious deck. Anyone, I repeat, anyone can pick this deck and beat good players easily. Elixir Golem plus Night Witch is a broken combo, and when you use it with Rage and Goblin Curse, it becomes impossible to defend. The Magic Archer can also get tower damage from the bridge. The Skeleton Army and Skeleton King synergize really well on offense. You don't even need defense with this deck. Overall, this deck gets a perfect score on offense and is the easiest deck to play. At number 15, we've got Royal Hog's Earthquake Cycle. Your entire game plan revolves around cycling back to your evolved Royal Hogs as fast as you can. When you drop them with Earthquake, buildings get destroyed and your opponent is forced into awkward defenses. Most players end up overcommitting, and that's exactly what you want. Archer Queen is insanely valuable here. On defense, she shuts down pushes. On offense, her ability can force out extra elixir or even secure surprise damage. If you use her ability smartly, you'll constantly generate positive traits. Defensively, it's hard to break through the cannon plus royal delivery setup. It's easily one of the most complete cycle decks in the meta right now, and therefore, it scores highly in all aspects, though you need a certain amount of skill to play it. At number 14, we've got Giant Rage Beatdown. Hero Giant once again escaped the balance changes untouched. His ability is honestly ridiculous. He can literally knock his hardest counters into the other lane and keep marching toward your tower like nothing happened. That mechanic alone makes defending him a nightmare. Now, combine Hero Giant with a Prince and Rage, and you've got one of the most explosive pushes in the game. Add Dark Prince and Bomber behind it to handle swarms, and suddenly your opponent's defense just collapses. If they mismanage Elixir for even a few seconds, it's a 3 crown. The Phoenix got a nice buff recently and it handled the defense of your deck. The craziest part, for a beatdown deck, the average Elixir cost is only 3.5. That means in double or triple Elixir, you can pressure both lanes with giant pushes. It's insanely aggressive, constantly threatening, and almost suffocating to defend. It gets a perfect score on offense, and it's also a solid choice for free-to-play players. At number 13, we've got P.E.K.K.A. Bridge Spam, and this deck has been revived by the hero Magic Archer. The entire strategy revolves around relentless bridge pressure. Bandit and Royal Ghost are your main tools here. You keep spamming them at the bridge, forcing negative Elixir trades over and over again. Slowly, but surely, your opponent's key counters are out of cycle. That's the moment you're waiting for! Once their building or main tank killer is out of hand, you go all in with a battle ram push. That's usually where the game flips. One clean battle ram connection with proper support can decide the entire match. Try to get sneaky Magic Archer damage from the bridge whenever you get the opportunity. Defensively, Electro Wizard resets and stuns, Magic Archer destroys units from a range, and P.E.K.K.A. completely deletes beatdown tanks. That said, this deck is not easy to play. Therefore, while it scores highly on offense and defense, it's not recommended for absolute beginners. At number 12, we have this classic bridge spam deck. This deck is all about offense. You use the Bandit and the Lumberjack to bait out counters to the Ram Rider, then use the Ice Golem plus Ram Rider push to get tower damage. Your opponent will probably play something right in front of their tower to defend the Ram Rider. That's your chance to play the Magic Archer on the bridge and get some insane damage. The Inferno Dragon and Hero Barbarian Barrel will be your main defensive cards. Overall, this deck gets a great score on offense, but it's also quite hard to upgrade. At number 11, we've got 2.6 Hog Cycle. The Hero Ice Golem plus Hog Rider combo remains one of the most frustrating pushes to defend. Somehow, no matter how clean the defense looks, the Hog always sneaks in 1 or 2 hits. That chip damage adds up fast. Even though Hero Musketeer received a heavy nerf, she's still more impactful than the regular Musketeer in this archetype. But if you had to choose only one between the Musketeer and the Ice Golem for your hero slot, make sure to choose the Ice Golem. On defense, Evolved Cannon and Evolved Skeletons give you insane stability for such a cheap cost. The main objective of this deck hasn't changed. Cycle fast, outcycle your opponent's building or main counter, get back to the Hog Rider before they're ready. Overall, 2.6 Hog Cycle gets a great free-to-play score and also gets a good rating on offense and defense. If you agree with me that 2.6 Hog Cycle is the greatest deck ever made in Clash Royale, then click on that like and subscribe button. At number 10, we've got 3 Musketeers Royal Hogs. The whole idea is to overwhelm your opponent with split lane pressure. You drop 3 Musketeers and split them in the back, use Ice Golem to tank for the 2 Musketeer side, then once the other side reaches a bridge, drop your Battle Ram in front of it. Now your opponent has to defend heavy damage in both lanes at the same time. Most decks simply don't have enough Elixir to handle that much firepower. Royal Ghost adds another layer of pressure. He chips, forces awkward responses, and often baits out key counters to your 3 Musketeers before the real push even begins. Defensively, Magic Archer and Barbarian Barrel are enough to stop most pushes. Make sure to keep stacking Elixir pumps throughout the match. This deck scores extremely high on offense and can also be maxed easily. At number 9, we've got Electro Giant Beatdown. The Evolved Royal Ghost and the Hero Barbarian Barrel basically carry this deck. Use the Royal Ghost smartly to bait out buildings, tank killers, or awkward defensive troops. Once those counters are out of cycle, that's when you commit. Drop your Electro Giant and always keep Lightning ready. The second they place a building or range support unit, you instantly nuke those with a Lightning, and if anything survives, tornado it straight into the Electro Giant's stun radius. Bowler is incredibly strong in this meta. He can literally lock down a lane by himself against ground pushers. Goblin Heart, Baby Dragon, and Tornado gives you very safe, controlled defense. Overall, this deck scores solid across offense and defense, and it's very beginner-friendly too. At number 8, we've got Goblin Drill Cycle, and this deck is pure chaos when played correctly. The Goblin Demolisher and Magic Archer are extremely annoying in this deck. Normally when you drop a Goblin Drill, your opponent responds by placing a troop right on top of it near their tower. That's standard defense. But when you pair the Drill with a Demolisher, things get tricky. He splashes the defending troop and chips the tower at the same time, so even when they defend, they're still taking damage. On top of that, you can also use the magic archer on the bridge to get damage on both your troops and tower. These combos are what makes this deck so frustrating to face. Defensively, it's just as solid. Knight plus bomb tower is an insanely reliable combo. Knight tanks while Tesla handles ground threats. Together, they shut down most pushes without overcommitting. This deck gets a perfect score on offense, but it can be a bit difficult to master. At number 7, we've got Mega Knight Wall Breakers. This version runs the Hero Barbarian barrel, and it's actually broken in this deck. Your main pressure combo is Miner plus Wall Breakers. That duo is designed to force awkward, negative elixir trades. If they under-defend, they lose tower HP. If they over-defend, you outcycle them and punish again. The Bandit can also be used to apply pressure and force out counters to your Miner and Wall Breakers. Defensively, Mega Knight and Musketeer are great against beatdown and bridge spam. The Hero Barbarian Barrel counters the bait and siege decks. Both Bats and Barbarian Barrel give you cheap, efficient control, so you don't have to waste your Mega Knight every time. That allows you to save him for big offensive moments. Zap is your prediction tool. Use it to clear swarms so that your Bandit and Wall Breakers may connect to the tower. Overall, this deck is very well rounded in terms of both offense and defense. At number 6, we have this highly aggressive bridge spam deck. This deck is super fast, costing only 3.3 elixir. This means you can spam your cards on the bridge until you eventually overwhelm your opponent. The Evolved Battle Ram is your main win condition. You need to bait out his counters first, using the Bandit and the Royal Ghost. The Cannon Cart is the MVP of this deck, providing value on both offense and defense. Use the Magic Archer to get some damage from the bridge whenever possible. This deck gets a perfect score on offense and is also very easy to play. At number 5, we have this Hyper Bait deck. This deck will still be viable in the meta despite the Hero Barbarian Barrel, because guess what? Every troop in this deck can bait out small spells. Your opponent will 100% run out of counters at one point, and you can rush the bridge with all your swarms. The Rascals and Dot Goblin do well on defense, while the Royal Ghost is a valuable asset to gain positive elixir trades. Overall, this deck is rated highly in all aspects. At number 4, we've got Miner Wall Breakers, and yeah, this one is not for casual players. This is a high skill, high IQ deck, but once you truly understand it, it becomes insanely difficult to stop. The Miner plus Wall Breakers combo is your main offensive push. If played correctly, it almost always forces awkward responses and gives you positive elixir trades. Your opponent either overspends, or they take massive damage. There's rarely a middle ground. Most players will drop a troop directly in front of their tower to defend a miner. That's your moment. Instantly bridge Magic Archer and line it up. The geometry damage you get from that play is disgusting. On defense, Valkyrie and Cannon are incredibly useful. You need to be precise on defense because you don't have a big spell to bail you out. That means your placements, timing, and elixir management must be clean. Overall, this deck gets a great score on offense, but has a really high skill ceiling. At number 3, we've got Lava Loon, and I'm not even exaggerating when I say this meta feels made for it. Everyone will be running the Ground Swarms and the Magic Archer, and this deck counters them really well. Both the Fireball and Hero Mega Minion are big counters to the Magic Archer. Drop the Lava Hound and place the balloon behind it. Use your Evolved Baby Dragon to speed up your push and deploy your spells to destroy enemy units. One clean connection from the balloon, and the tower's basically gone. On defense, Evolved Valkyrie and Guards handle beatdown and swarms extremely well. Offensively, this deck is nearly flawless in this meta. Therefore, this deck gets a perfect score on offense and is also one of the easiest decks to play. At number 2, we have this off-meta Giant Skeleton Battle Ram deck. This is the perfect anti-meta deck, designed to counter everything that's popular right now. The Giant Skeleton, Mother Witch, and Dark Prince trio is very hard to break on defense. The Royal Ghost and Dark Prince can put your opponent in a bad cycle, which enables your Battle Ram to get huge damage. You even have the Vines, which can immobilize enemy troops on offense and defense. What's the opponent even supposed to do against this deck? You can use either the Hero Barbarian Barrel or the Hero Magic Archer in this deck as per your choice. This deck gets a high score in all categories, which is well deserved. At number 1, we have this Royal Giant Cycle deck. This deck needs no introduction. It's always viable. It's always frustrating to face. And in this meta, it's even more broken than ever because of the Hero Barbarian Barrel. This deck is rated highly in all categories and is undoubtedly the best deck in Clash Royale. But Royal Giant in general takes high skill to play. So if you want to learn how to play Royal Giant and 21 other win conditions in Clash Royale, then click on this video.